Hey, Washington campus, Brad here with some encouragement and a look ahead, as always, of things that are happening this week at the Washington campus. And the first thing I want to talk about is our Wednesday night study on the life and ministry of Jesus. Will continue this Wednesday. And remember, you can join us in person here at the Washington campus, or if you want, it's better, you can join us through Zoom. We do both, and it's worked well so far. So that's Wednesday at 6:30. And again, if you need that Zoom link, you can email Donna Franco, dfranco@biblechapel.org, and you can get that and you can join us on Zoom. So again, in person or on Zoom, you can join us this Wednesday. And I want to talk about this because where we're at in this study is we've gone through and we're working our way through the life of Jesus leading up to Easter, Easter week, is that last week we looked at the miracles that Jesus performed. And what's interesting is Jesus does all this amazing stuff, but yet there is still pushback. There is still opposition. And so this Wednesday, we're going to talk about and look at up close the opposition that the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Herodians, the religious leaders, how they pushed back and how they challenged Jesus. They came at him with questions, not because they wanted to know answers, but because they're trying to trip him up, trying to catch him in a mistake that they could then arrest him for, or ultimately we'll see he's going to be arrested and crucified. And so what's important about that is to understand that, and what we're going to have fun with is we're going to see these exchanges that Jesus had with the Pharisees. I think oftentimes we miss just how intense these conversations got. These were heated moments. And so what we'll see, and I think that encourages us as believers, is that when Jesus is asked questions, he doesn't shrink back. When he is challenged, he doesn't shrink back. No, he responds. And we can learn a lot from how he responds. He responds with truth. He responds not just with truth, but also what he's able to do is to get at the heart issue, is that he will ask questions in a way that tries to help them understand what is preventing them from understanding who Jesus is. You know, Peter said it this way, that all of us should sanctify Christ as Lord in our hearts. We should set Jesus apart as the Lord of our hearts, and we should always be ready to give an account, to give a defense for the hope that is within us, yet with gentleness and reverence. So each one of us should be ready for that moment when people come at us with questions. We shouldn't be scared off by that. We should expect it. It's going to come, and we should be ready for that moment. And you're not always going to have the right answer at the right moment. But here's the thing. If somebody ever asks you a question about your faith or about the Bible, and you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know. But here's the thing. Go find out that answer so that the next time somebody asks you that question, you don't have to say for a second time, I still don't know. So find the answer. It'll help sharpen your faith and deepen your faith as well. But we can draw encouragement from Jesus because he stood up and he pushed back and he spoke the truth in love and he spoke the truth and tried to get people to understand what the heart issue was that was preventing them from accepting who he was. Now, what's fascinating about this is that, unfortunately, as we know, or I say unfortunately, in God's sovereign plan, the nation of Israel rejects Jesus. Well, this Sunday, we're going to continue the sermon series, His Story, My Story. I'm going to be preaching live at the Washington campus, and we're going to look at probably the most significant single chapter in the entire Old Testament, Isaiah chapter 53. So if you have some time this week between now and then, actually start reading at Isaiah 52, verse 13, through Isaiah 53. You'll probably recognize the chapter. It is a powerful chapter where Isaiah talks about, God speaks through Isaiah, and he tells us about God's servant, the Messiah who is going to come. But what's interesting about this passage, a little sneak peek, is that what Isaiah does is he tells us that the Messiah is going to come, but Israel is going to reject the Messiah. And then at a future date, is going to say, wait, now we understand who that was, and now we see what we did to him. And so it's fascinating. Wednesday, we're going to be looking at the opposition of Israel. And then on Sunday, it's neat how these kind of tie together. We'll be looking at Isaiah 53, written 700 years roughly before Jesus shows up, 700 years before this opposition of the Pharisees. And it's going to play out exactly like Isaiah prophesied through Isaiah 53. Fascinating. It's always amazing to see how God's word comes together and gives us such confidence and trust in knowing who God is. So let me just say this. I hope you can join us on Wednesday in person or on Zoom. I'm excited about what we're going to look at on Wednesday night, and certainly hope you can join us on Sunday morning as we look at Isaiah 53 coming up. It's going to be great. Until then, until we see one another face to face, let's commit ourselves to press on.